Hello, welcome back to another episode of The Technical Gentleman. Today's episode is going to be another basic educational video. This time, we're going to be talking about computer viruses and malware. In this video, we will describe what computer viruses and malware actually are, what some of the more common types of them are, and what are some techniques that you as a user can use to mitigate your risk of becoming infected by one of these viruses. So to begin, first question we might ask is, what is malware? Malware is just an abbreviated way of saying malicious software. This is any software that is installed onto your computer, with or without your knowledge, that has malicious intent behind it. One of the most common forms of malware is something called ransomware. Ransomware works by encrypting either your primary drive or main files on that drive that may be of particular importance to you. So you can imagine somebody coming through and taking your documents folder where you have everything, all of your main documents on your computer stored, and encrypting everything in that folder so that it cannot be accessed without a password. And then what the hacker who has infected your computer does is they will send you a communication and they will say, if you want these files back, you need to pay me this amount of money, anonymously to this particular, cryptocurrency address. And at that point, I will give you the password so that you can unlock your files, so that you can unlock your drive. In general, if this happens to you, it is recommended that you don't actually pay that, even if it comes at the cost of data. The reason being that the only reason this kind of malware actually exists is because the people who create it profit off of it. So by not paying them, you're disincentivizing future attacks. Another very common form of malware is something we would call a keylogger. This is, I think, even more malicious. The way that it works is it is a piece of software that runs in the background of your computer 24/7, and it records any key that you hit on your keyboard and sends that particular keystroke off to whatever hacker is sitting in the background waiting for that. And you can think of the reason why that's dangerous. You can imagine going and, if I'm the hacker and I'm sitting there monitoring your keystrokes and I see that you type in the name of some big online banking service, and I see that you type in the name of that banking service, and I see that you hit enter, and then I see that you enter in an email, and immediately after that, I see that you enter in a string of 20 random characters. Well, what I've just collected is your online banking login. I now have access to that account. So this is a very malicious, obviously, piece of software, and you don't even necessarily know that it's running in the background. There are many ways that you could become infected by malware such as this. What's important, and we'll talk more in a later video about particular using things like antiviruses to help to mitigate some of these threats. But what is important to understand is that 90% of all of these malware attacks are completely preventable by using good computing practices. 9 out of 10 times when somebody becomes infected by a piece of malicious software like this, it is because they did something really stupid that they shouldn't have done. So the most important tool that you have to arm yourself against becoming infected by a piece of malware like this is educating yourself and learning good computing practices. So what are some of those good computing practices? First and foremost, do not install any piece of software on your computer that you do not trust the source of. Just because you read on a forum somewhere that you should install this piece of software and try it and use it, unless you 100% trust the source of that software, do not go and intentionally install software on your computer that you do not know where it comes from and what it's doing. Just as a general rule, you really should not do that. Don't go opening any links. If somebody sends you a link through an email or through a text and you don't trust the source, you don't know where that source is coming from with 100% certainty, don't open that link. There are all kinds of ways that malicious software can be tied to that. You might get an email from what looks like your bank, but is really some third-party hacker who's sending you this email. You click on the link, sends you to some duplicate website that somebody's put up at a domain that your bank doesn't actually own. It's not actually your bank's website, but it looks like it. You'll go into your login, you'll enter your username, you'll enter your password. It will then redirect you to the bank's login page with that same information. So it'll log you into your normal bank, just like normal. But in the course of that interaction, the malicious hacker behind that process has just collected your banking information. So if you get an email from somebody, even if you think it's somebody that you know, somebody that you should trust, make sure that you're checking the source of that. And when in doubt, reach out to the person who's contacted you or you think has contacted you and verify, did you send me this email? Did you send me this text? Always err on the side of caution with something like that. The other really important thing is never, if you are walking down the street, you see a USB on the sidewalk. This seems like it should be obvious, but people do this. People will put pieces of malicious software on these USBs. You'll plug it into your computer. You might not even see anything on the USB, or there may be something that looks completely harmless on the USB, but when you plugged it in, it inputted something that is a malicious piece of software that could install one of these keyloggers, could install a piece of ransomware on your system. So don't go picking up random USBs on the ground and plugging it in. You may be listening to these things and saying, okay, well, this sounds like common sense. But the reality is that 90% of all malware attacks, it's not an exaggeration, 90% of all malware attacks happen because somebody did one of these things. So don't be that somebody. Don't do that thing. Another really great way to mitigate against particularly something like ransomware is to keep really good backups of all of your primary data. If you're keeping really good backups, even if you get hit by something like ransomware, it doesn't matter. You still have all of that data backed up. You didn't lose anything. You can say screw you to the guy who did it. Wipe your drive and put a new install on there, and all your data is backed up somewhere. You didn't lose anything. So more than antiviruses, and we'll talk about antiviruses in a later video, but if you're worried about something like getting a virus, getting a piece of malware put onto your system, implement good and safe computing practices. That is the best way to protect yourself. That's it for this video. If you like the content, please subscribe to the channel and be on the lookout for more videos coming out in the future. Pretty soon here, we're going to start getting into some real tutorials on some fun stuff. So look forward to that. Anyway, you guys have a nice day and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.